Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 76 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is incredibly popular in the aquarium trading, possibly the most beautiful fish in the world. At least it gets a lot of attention. Today we are going to be talking about the discus fish. Now this is going to be a little bit different. Discus fish, or the genus Symphysedon, again that's Symphysedon, in the early 2000s was split up into different species. Because there's not a ton of stuff out there on the different fish species, we are going to do something unique in this Fish Friday, in that we are actually going to talk about all three of them, discus as a whole. There are three recognized species at this time. There is Symphysedon discus, which is the red discus, which is hard to find like a better picture, but you can kind of see here. You have Symphysedon fasciatus, which is the blue discus or the brown discus. So this is that one. I now realize that you saw the scientific name. And Symphysedon tarzu, which is the green discus. Now I'm showing you these colors, but we'll get into that, but there's a ton of different colors out there. Now discus are part of the family Cichlidae, which we've talked about Cichlidae before. That's the family of cichlids. You know, talking about angelfish, things like that, and you know, it's a rather large but pretty diverse family. It is found in the lowlands of the Amazon basin, so think like lakes and rivers, things like that. And where the species really seem to distinguish themselves is where they're found and what they're found in. So red discus, which are the Symphysedon discus, which is this one, these seem to be restricted much more to blackwater habitats, which blackwater habitats are slow-moving rivers through forested swamps or wetlands. The tarzu, which is the green discus, that seems to be found in both black and white water, which white water is rivers that have high levels of suspended sediments. It gives it that kind of milky clayey color usually. Whereas fasciatus, or this one, the blue or brown discus, that's found more in your kind of in all of those, but is also found in clear water habitats. So they do have a pretty different, it's almost like the red discus is restricted to black water. The green discus is found in both black and white water, and then the blue or brown discus, that one's found in like all three, including clear water habitats. But they do have a rather different geographic distribution as well, where they're found. So from what I can see, the Symphysedon discus, which is the red discus, is really found in the lower part of the Amazon basin, right around here. You know, right around there. The green discus tarzu was found, so it's kept saying the Purus arch. So the Purus arch, I'm assuming, is this little part of the river right here. So it said tarzu is found west of the arch, so over here, whereas the blue and brown discus is found east of the arch. So I'm thinking it's going to be over here. So maybe the blue and brown mixes with Symphysedon discus, which is the red discus, but the tarzu seems to be rather unique. So it's really, it's a convoluted mess. I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't realize they had split up the species of discus. So anyway. Now, in terms of size, the discus is not a very large fish. It typically ranges from 12 to 15.5 centimeters, which is about 4.5 to 6 inches in length. And they usually weigh around 200 grams, just under half a pound. You know, they get that, but they're usually about as deep as they are long. So, you know, you'll have a fish that may be 5 inches long, but it's also 5 inches deep. It's got this really laterally compressed body shape, which, by the way, if you haven't figured it out, that's how the fish got its name. It looks like the discus that is thrown in track and field events. It's very much like the angelfish, except that it does not have those real extended fins, that finnage that the angelfish have. It does have these long, oh man, now I can't think of those fins. It does have these long pelvic fins. Yes, I think these are the pelvic fins. They have to be. And it's got this beautiful coloration, but it doesn't have those long filaments that angelfish have. Now, we talked about the color patterns of the general species, but honestly, it's really hard to give a definitive color because they have every color under the sun. These are so incredibly popular. They're crazy. People go nutso for discus fish. I mean, just look at all these colors. Solids, slightly spotted. I mean, it's kind of crazy how many variations, and how many variations are still coming out to this day of discus fish. They're beautiful, but they're popular. In terms of what they eat, they primarily feed on algae, plants, and small invertebrates. In terms of their color, Floppy's asked, do I know what makes them have so much color? There is a genetic component, but they do seem to be able to change their color slightly based on their mood and their environment. So I'm not sure what that entails, but I did see something about that in my research. So they're probably make themselves a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. You know, there's a bit of a genetic component, like especially when you're talking about like getting these royal purple, pigeon blood, things like this. That is going to be more your select breeding, which kind of on that, this is one of the most popular aquarium fish in the world. They're beautiful, they're big, they do eat meat, which means they can be actual distant, fun to feed. They're highly social, which, in the wild, they occur in very, very large schools of fish, maybe dozens of fish. That's actually really unique among cichlids of North and South America. Cichlids are actually very unsocial fish. They're usually fighting each other. These are social, so in aquariums you can put a whole bunch of these together and they'll thrive. Actually, they mean for it to do. It's really neat. Now, we talked about the aquarium, and I'm not kidding you. This fish, it's almost cult-like. The people that love discus fish and go after them, they're willing to pay lots of money for an individual fish, that has a rare color pattern. You look up how much this fish costs. It can cost anywhere from $30 to, I've seen some discus be on sale for $700. And not only are they pricey, but they're actually kind of a difficult fish. I'm going to say kind of difficult. They're really not. You just have to really pay attention. They need extremely clean water. That's their main need. So, and a lot of people don't know how to properly change out their water in aquariums, things like that. So that's the main concern when you're trying to have discus. That, and they need social. They can't have large tank mates, things like that. And they need a heavily planted aquarium. They really like to hide. They're super skittish and kind of terrified of everything. So they really need a lot of structure to be able to hide behind it. We talked about how cultish they are, and I'm going to say cultish, but people are fanatic about their discus fish. Each year, the World Discus competition takes place in China. There's an actual World Discus population competition that goes on. People compete for certain prizes. It's crazy. And then there's a North American Discus Association. That association focuses on supporting hobbyists and supports wild discus because they're not in trouble, but they do need a little bit of support. So in terms of what they're used for, it's basically aquarium fish. They're not sought after as a food source by the natives. I'm sure if the native South Americans did find these or caught them in the net, they're not gonna, chunk them back. But they're not really sought after for anything other than the aquarium trade. Now, for the interesting fact that we're gonna end the video on, it's actually about their reproduction. So, as with most cichlids and kind of larger fish, brood care is highly developed, meaning that they really care for their young. What will happen is the parents, they're part of a group, and then two of them will kind of branch off, and the female will lay her eggs, and then both of them guard the eggs and the fry. But how they care for the fry is really interesting. When the young fish are hatching, the adult discus actually produce a mucus layer on their skin, which that's actually what the larvae, the fish fry, live on during their first 4 weeks. So the first 4 weeks of their life, they're eating a mucus layer off the skin of their parents. During the first 2 weeks, the parents actually stay very close to the young, protecting them, things like that. And then for the next 2 weeks, they actually start swimming away, making their kids actually chase them. And that actually starts to wean them off of that mucus layer. They start to fend for themselves. So it's actually an it's very simple, but it's an incredibly complex and interesting evolutionary adaptation. Now, in terms of why they do that, not only does it allow the parents to really protect their young, but research has actually shown that through this parental care behavior, discus fish parents, so the parents actually transmit key microorganisms to their fry. It's like the colostrum for babies. Colostrum is that first sort of milk that you get when like a calf is born from a cow. They really need to eat quickly because that colostrum gives them a lot of vital stomach microorganisms to help them with digestion, things like that, helps them with their health in the long run. That's what this mucus layer is actually doing. That transmission actually explains why discus have one of the highest survival rate of fry if they're with their parents. These have been very popular in aquarium. People have been able to breed them. If you leave the parents with the fry and they're sort of protected, they have some of the highest success rates of fry. Usually fry die at like a rate of only 10% of fry survive. This one actually has an incredibly large rate. Versus if you take the parent away, they have an extremely low rate of survivability, even with like the best sort of like fish fry food that you can give them. So it's an incredibly unique fish adaptation, and highly encourage you to look up some videos of it. It's awesome. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you do, I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. And peace.